MAGA comes to talk. So, the main story today, there's a lot of big stories today. I mean, let's face it. But the lead story this morning is President Trump's travel ban from 19 countries. And it may have already happened. They will, but and we haven't gotten the order yet. But it's only a matter of time, as soon as the courts open, that the Never Trumpers and the liberals find another judge who thinks they're a little president wearing a robe and orders Trump to withhold his travel ban. I think Trump should tell the judge to screw off and not listen to them. These judges are out of control, but that's going to be the lead story today. I was talking on the previous feed, though, about what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, this major escalation, and these two operations that just took place in Russia, the attack on the bombers and the underwater demolition on the bridge. There's no question in my mind that rogue elements of the American deep state are behind all of that. All of a sudden, Ukraine has this insane ability to do all of these high-level operations. I don't think so. I don't think so at all, okay? There's a lot of people that want total war because there's a lot of money in total war. It's all about money. And there's unlimited amounts of money that are made with it. If Ukraine could mount these kind of sophisticated operations, they would have been doing it all along, and they have not. And that's no doubt about it. And Lindsey Graham and Pompeo, just coincidentally being in Ukraine with all this going on, come on, that's not a coincidence. No. And, there's a lot of rogue forces in the deep state that are embedded in Ukraine that have been there for years now. These attacks are terrible. They have escalated things to a level they may not be able to walk it back from. And there's Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine has no chance of winning this war, okay? Putin could take Ukraine big time if he wanted and just obliterate the country. And it's such a stupid move for Ukraine to escalate that. There's no hope for Ukraine to defeat Russia. None. So far as Russia, if they obliterate Ukraine or take Ukraine, they're going to alienate themselves from the international community. I don't think there'll be much of an insurgency because I don't hear about any insurgencies in Crimea that they took years ago. So it's hopeless for Ukraine. Ukraine should want peace because it's hopeless for them to defeat Russia. Russia's never been defeated. They've gone up against some of the biggest conquerors in history, right? Napoleon and Hitler. And they beat Hitler and Napoleon back. You don't think they can beat Zelensky? Come on. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe. I mean, that's just the way it is. Pompeo's upper-level deep state, never to be trusted. Just look at his resume, CIA director. Absolutely. Pompeo was probably there coordinating everything. Russia lost to Japan in 1905. That was a little skirmish out in the Pacific. That doesn't count. No, that was just a little skirmish. That wasn't all-out war. And that was in the Pacific, so far away from Moscow. No, that doesn't count. I know the Japanese like to hype that up, but no. No, Pompeo and Lindsey Graham were not there by coincidence or accident. They probably had a big meeting of the council that's behind all of this, on how they can expand and get this war going. And it's very dangerous because of the NATO countries, right? If one of those NATO countries gets hit in an all-out war between Russia and Ukraine, that could lead to things that are just insane, okay? I mean, you know, the NATO alliance says an attack on one is an attack on all. That's why when 9/11 happened, they all came out immediately and sided with us because of the NATO alliance. Now, did you guys see this new TMZ documentary about a fifth plane on 9/11? I watched it. It's very interesting. I didn't see the documentary. They had an extended clip where they interviewed flight attendants and the pilots of the plane. And it's pretty dramatic, and I do believe it's true, but it's not news that there were terrorists on other planes. This fifth plane 9/11 story, the story with that is an interesting one. It's that they chickened out. And the plane actually never took off. They chickened out and the plane didn't take off. So the attack didn't happen. But we have known forever, since right after 9/11, there was immediate talk that there were other planes and other hijackers, and they didn't get to do what they were planning on doing on 9/11 because President Trump grounded all aircraft. It took a little time. How long did it take them to ground the aircraft? Was it an hour or 2 hours? I can't remember. It's been so long. It's been 24 years. But when they grounded all of the aircraft, which is a huge task. I mean, every plane in America had to land immediately, and the planes on the tarmacs didn't take off, and all the passengers left. And it's always been suspected and known that there were other hijackers they didn't get. In fact, there was one hijacker. Remember the guy there was one 9/11 hijacker that they got in Orlando. Remember that? Did I say Trump? I misspoke. Bush grounded all the planes. Bush and Cheney. Did I say Trump? Dick Cheney was pretty much in charge that day, no doubt about it. The communications from Air Force One weren't working. President Bush was having very difficult times communicating from Air Force One on 9/11. In fact, after 9/11, they remodeled Air Force One's communication system. You know, but it's not a big story that there was a fifth plane. That's something we've kind of known. And while the whole documentary hasn't been out yet, I saw that extended clip. They say that they told the FBI. The FBI knew if they got on the plane, they had to know who they were. Muhammad Atta and all of them used their real IDs. They didn't hide their ID. So I don't know why they haven't gotten these guys. But everyone's making a big deal about the fifth plane. That's not news. It's dramatic and shocking and everything else, but you know, I don't think it's news because we've kind of known that, right? You know. Well, you know, the problems that are going on right now, these unelected judges are making things worse. You know, this Judge Mershon, who's gotten involved in the deportations now. There's another story too. The governor of Arizona vetoed the ban on the Chinese buying land. They need to look into her. Why would she do that? The day, we just had this Chinese government agro-terrorism incident in the news. And the day after that happens, Hobbs vetoes a bill banning China from buying land. All Chinese-owned farmland and land of any kind should be seized by the government and sold to Americans. No good is intended with China buying up farmland. You buy the farmland, you control the food supply. Well, they judge shop to liberal judges. I was talking about this yesterday. What if the Chinese cause the egg problem? These things have devastating effects on the economy. They really do. And I mean, say that the Chinese own a whole bunch of strawberry farms, and then all of a sudden, the strawberries, there's something that happens and we don't have strawberries. That may not seem too important on the face of it, but it is. If you control the farmland, you can stop food from growing and being produced. And it's not just an impact on our food supply. We're not going to starve in America, but it has very big effects on the economy. Look at what the egg prices did. Eggs are in so many things. It drove up the prices of a lot of things. They could have done that. That could have been an economic as well as attack on our food supply. Oh yeah, food prices have a big effect on the economy. Absolutely. Yeah, now if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. So there's a lot of stories to cover today. I'm going to lead with the travel ban, but and then I'm going to get into the Mark Levin at the White House trying to start the Third World War. Bongino did another interview. They got the Epstein tape that he did it himself. I don't know why Dan Bongino is doing these interviews. I'm not going to talk about that today. I've talked enough about Bongino this week. But why do another interview giving us something we don't want to hear? How about looking into Mershon and his daughter? And then do an interview that you've arrested them. I mean, come on. I mean, he is such a disappointment, but I'm not going to do that because 2 days ago I talked about that for the whole show. It's a series of test runs on the yes. You can have a devastating impact on the global economy. There's some foods that are part of the staples. Eggs is one of them. Eggs, wheat, things like that. I did a whole show yesterday on Elon Musk. I don't take requests. I still don't get these 5 a.m. joggers. I just don't get it. Don't get it at all. Well, I'll just say this about Bongino. He's just a disappointment, and, he was talking about these problems with his wife. He and his wife, their company spent millions of dollars building his studio here in Florida. He renovated a McDonald's and they built a very high-tech television studio. They really went overboard with it. They had to spend a few million on that between buying the building, renovating it, and turning it into a television studio. I mean, they, and then they got rid of all that. I'm in the process of upgrading my studio at home, and I don't have a budget like that. Oh man. I got a new mic yesterday, system set up. This is for my podcast, and some new lights coming. But the renovation, what Dan Bongino did for it was bizarre. It's here in Florida, and it's maybe one day, because maybe one day when I'm in that area, I'll do a vlog and show it. But he and his wife bought a closed down McDonald's. The building itself was over $700,000. Then they completely renovated it, and they hired a company that specializes in television studios, and they turned it into a television studio. And God only knows how much that cost. So that had to be $2 to $3 million. It looks nice, but with what he was showing on television, he could have just done that at his house, right? The American flag wood thing behind. He could just do that at home. Building this multi-million-dollar facility seemed a little extravagant to me. I don't know. Just seems a little strange. It's a nice place, but I wasn't impressed with his studio. I think he got ripped off. Yeah, Rush didn't have a big fancy place. He was in an office building. He had a floor of an office building in Palm Beach. A tax write-off, you still got to lay out the money. It's not like it's free. A tax write-off's not free. You still got to lay out the money. To me, it shows poor judgment. But it's a nice building. I mean, the renovation, I saw the before and after, and the before, it was a closed down, run down McDonald's, and it looked like a McDonald's. I mean, no doubt about it. Yeah, Rush's studio is it's north of Mar-a-Lago. It's nice. It was a nice place, nice studio, but it was you wouldn't know it. It was in a regular office building, Rush in Palm Beach, and you wouldn't know. It was very on the down low. And sadly, it's gone now. Who was backing Bongino with all that money? I don't know. Maybe he made a lot of money. Wasn't he one of the founders of Rumble? I don't know. But it seems like a great expense. I mean, I would not mind somebody coming in and building me a new studio, but I would have it built in my house. I wouldn't buy an old McDonald's or anything and renovate it. But so the main thing I'm going to lead with at 6, I'm going to lead with the Trump travel ban, because that's just fantastic. We got to talk about that. I got a bunch of other stories to cover, including the second story I'll probably get into will be the one that Tucker Carlson dropped yesterday that no one's talking about, that Mark Levin was at the White House yesterday lobbying to go to war with Iran, which I think people need to know about that. I mean, Mark Levin's a bad guy trying to push us into World War III here. Yeah, does anyone know where the golden EIB mic is located? It should be in a museum at the Smithsonian. That's the second story I'm going to cover. There's a bunch of stories to cover today, but those are a couple of the big ones that I'm going to cover. And it pains me to be critical of Netanyahu because I support Israel, and I don't want people to think that I'm like Candace. Candace Owens and Mark Dice hate Jews, okay? They hate Jews, they hate Israel. They'll deny it, but they do, especially Candace Owens. But criticizing Mark Levin Netanyahu is not criticizing Israel and not supporting Israel's right to exist. There's a difference there. Rush was right, no doubt about it. Rush was right. Yep. And, one of our callers didn't like this the other day, but Rush listened to me and Steve. Steve Kane worked with Rush in New York before Rush was famous, and he knew Rush. And Rush listened to me regularly. And I never talked about it because, Rush would always say he didn't listen to other shows, but he listened to me regularly. He lived here in the market. And all the time, I would get DMs from people, emails from people, or people would say to me, I was listening to Rush today, and he was talking about exactly what you were talking about today and saying exactly what you were saying about. That's because Rush listened to me in the mornings. And I didn't brag about it because I wanted him to keep listening. And, I was honored that he was listening. He could run for president again. No, he could. But it was always exciting for me knowing that Rush listened to me. Steve Bannon, I mean, obviously he knows Trump, but he's not in the inner circle. He's not in the inner circle anymore, and he obviously, Bannon misses being in the inner circle, right? You can tell. Now, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe, guys. Yeah, was it 99.87% right? I was talking yesterday. I met Bannon briefly a couple years ago, and it's when I met Tucker at the Charlie Kirk thing, and Megyn Kelly and everybody. And this when I met him in person, the sloppiness that you see, like when you watch him online, it's on purpose. It's like his style, the sloppiness. He likes to look like he just rolled out of bed and doesn't care, but I think it's more of a style than anything else. That was my impression, in person, seeing it in person, up close. I met him, I bumped into him, and we were going through, because the president was there, we were waiting for the Secret Service to clear us, and I kind of bumped into him there. Oh man, that's the day I met Tucker. It was right after Tucker got fired from Fox too, so it was a big deal to meet Tucker. I have a YouTube short of Tucker walking by me, but I got to meet him and Bannon. Yep, Sacramento, then New York, and then Florida. Steve Kane, he did a crossover hour with Rush. When Rush was on ABC in New York, Steve did the morning show for a while on WABC, right before Rush. And the first hour of Rush's show was not syndicated yet. So the first hour was local to New York, and Steve would do a crossover with Steve sometimes in that hour that was just local before the national show. Yeah. Yep. And that's how Steve knew Rush, and that's how Rush knew me. It was the reason I like knowing that he listened. It's because it was an honor that he listened to me, and him listening regularly told me that Rush approved of what I was doing and my style and how I broadcast and how I do the show. So I was always excited about that, and a lot of people knew, and I just never, because of the topics. Oh, Trump in 2028 would be great. Trump in 2032, 2036, 2040, and beyond, baby. Go watch my live stream from yesterday. Elon did not turn on Trump. And I will talk about Jean-Pierre. Pathetic. Jean-Pierre, if you watch that video of her, I think she's wearing man's pants. She's wearing blue jeans, and I think they're men's, because she moves and there's she's holding the book, and she leans back, and it's really baggy in the crotch. Women's jeans are not built with extra in the crotch. It looked to me like she was wearing men's jeans. Go back and watch that video. But she's incredibly stupid, okay? It's the beginning of June, and her book's not coming out till October. Why the hell is she promoting it now? Right? It's going to be old news by October. Just stupid. She's another one deserting the ship. She was in on everything with the auto pen. Everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was right there. She was in on it. Oh, those Obama dad jeans. I never owned jeans like that. The ones that have those baggy pockets, those dad jeans. Oh, my goodness. When he threw out that, the dad jeans with Obama. See, Obama had this image of being cool until he wore those jeans. She's running scared, Allison, or maybe she's just broke. I was reading this morning when I was doing my show prep that she wanted to get a hosting job on The View, and they didn't offer it to her. So she just may need the cash. Right? And she's trying to be relevant and get hired by someone. And I'm not even sure she wrote the book. She had the book cover, but, I'm wondering if that was her written book beneath the cover, or if she just, she's in front of those bookshelves, right, filled with books, look like a library. Did she just grab a book and put her cover on it? Right? That's what I was thinking. If it's not coming out till October, what are the chances that her book is written already, right? Exactly. Well, these are the things you got to notice. Not smart enough to write a book? Yeah. What surprised me about her is she's how old is she? 50 or so? I didn't realize she was that old. I don't have time to get into this, but I think AI should be banned. What do you guys think? This new AI things that I've been seeing, AI should be banned. The AI is very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. Well, she does wear a lot of makeup. She may look her age in person. I think it really needs to be banned. It's very, very dangerous what they're doing. Someone recently, AI did an AI with my voice, and I could not tell. I could not tell. It said things I've never said before, but it's dangerous. Yeah, but it's getting more sophisticated. It's way too sophisticated. No, it really needs to be outlawed. It really does. Once the technology is invented, it's hard to rein it in, but this one's really bad. Hardcore regulations. It is so dangerous. Listen, guys, not just the jobs, it's dangerous in general. I'm going to run the coffee shop's opening, but make sure you subscribe. If you're new, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I'll see you in just a few minutes. Take care.